So, as I said, I'm going to go through a live deal rather than just make it up and go along. So, this is 34 Yarmouth Road. And 34 Yarmouth Road, I came up with a few different names for it. So, it's on the River Yare. So, the first one was Yare Vista. And then I thought we'd call it Yare Baby. But instead, we've now got Riverbank Vista, which is a bit more swanky, but hey. But I'm going to run through what to look for and where, how I roughly stack a deal, how I look at the GDV, and you always have to look at your numbers backwards, offer, how I roughly kind of went through it and how I got it accepted. And then after that, I've also gone through planning, and I've gone loads of other information here. So hopefully, you don't all glaze over and get bored absolutely. So there we go. So this is Riverbank Vista. So the first thing is you need to try and find a property. And everyone seems to think this is the hard bit. It's a little bit hard when you're not sure what you're looking for, but it's not that hard. There's stuff out there everywhere. And I say that as this property was on Rightmove, it was on Zoopla, it was on the market, and it was also on a website that if you don't know about it and you're looking at commercial property, where have you been? Sorry, the other way around, it's a really useful website to get started with, Property Link. And you go on there, it's where most of the professional chartered surveyors or agents are using it to be able to advertise their property and work in. You will literally only find commercial properties on there. It's interesting, the other websites, Rightmove, Zoopla, and on the market, they're quite good because you find residential agents using these websites to try and market commercial properties because they don't have a subscription to something like Property Link. The other two, where they kind of fall through the gaps, are a website called Novoloca and LoopNet. And again, they are where you've got commercial surveyors and companies using that. So those websites, just jump on those, you can look through, and literally I'll set up my search in my area, and I have saved property searches and alerts exactly the same as you would have for residential. So that property came up online. As you can see, you can't really see the picture too well, but it was gorgeous, I thought. And it's got really nice, it's next to a river, which means at the end of the day, it can have some gorgeous views. But also slightly difficult site. So, and the point being here is this is what you'll get whenever they put the properties up for sale, you'll have an advert on Rightmove or Zoopla, wherever it is, and it will contain the smallest amount of information possible, because someone's always just forgotten to write a description. Because they're saying it's an office, and you're like, yeah, I get that, but they haven't really given you the rest of the detail. So when you get into a pack, they usually always have a PDF. So if you scroll to the bottom, there's usually going to be a link that will say PDF. You'll click download or open it up, and you'll have something like this. And so this is the exact one that Arnold Keys had up. And the interesting bit that I think is interesting, and it's certainly interesting if you're ever trying to work out your figures, is it always has a section that says how big a property is. You'll see here on the left-hand side. And they'll say in square metres how big the property is. So here you can roughly see it's 260, I think, and there's 62 there. So it means the whole thing comes at about 320 square metres. And that comes back down to when you're using a commercial property, you'll see later, but you need to be able to look at how big a property is roughly, to roughly work out what it's going to cost to develop and to build out, and also to roughly work out how many of these flats you can actually fit into a building and what you can develop. But the more interesting side of it, which I don't have a note on here, I think I might have a little one later, is if you use the EPC register, which you would have all seen for your residential, but there's also on there, you will see that there is a commercial side of it. And you can drop in that, and usually the difference is between net and gross area. And net and gross area, so most people here might be wondering what that is, but gross area is, imagine it is everywhere in the building. The net area are the net usable areas. So for example, like the offices, where you're going to use, the toilets, the kitchens will be your net area. Your gross area will be your entrance hallway, it'll be any fire escape routes, it'll be anything that you wouldn't usually be able to rent out or earn any income off, pretty much. So that's the property. I saw it, it came up, and you can't see the price in there, but it was £335,000. I wonder if I can get this to filter it. It was £335,000. And I looked at it and thought, that's a bargain. That'd be a great deal. I'll have one of those. So what to look for? So I wanted to kind of make this so everyone here can kind of go along and work out what to look for when you're getting a property. One of the main things is these days, and you'll see when I go, I've got a little bit in planning as well, is about windows. And you always need to have what's called right to light. Because as soon as you try and put windows that face somewhere else or look into someone else's garden, then you're going to have problems. And I try and do everything under permitted development to make my life as easy, quick, and as simple and as straightforward as possible. So with this building, this is Orchard Street in Norwich. Got the purchase going for the moment. We've got, it's in appeal for planning because they decided to judge the application as a planning application rather than a permitted development application. So as soon as an inspector gets hold of it, it should be a slam dunk. But the reason it was interesting is when you look at the building, you can see roughly, you can see that these 6 marks. 4 of those are effectively like clear plastic on the roof. Technically, they still class as windows. So I've now got 4 windows on my roof. I've got 6 there. I've then got 2 windows in the front and more at the back. And so naturally, I can look at this building and say, okay, well, every bedroom needs a window, every living room needs a window, kitchens don't, and then bathrooms don't. So if I can put the kitchen and bathrooms at the back of a property, and then I can put all the stuff that you like at the front, then we're into a win. The other bit you can do as well is you'll put a planning app or an application in, you can put something called a companion application in at the same time. As I said, I've got loads of information, and that can also be to add windows, but it's not a slam dunk and you can't guarantee you'll get those, so it's best to work with what you've got. Access, and you'll see, so access is really important if you want a site where builders actually want to come and build it. If it's like this one, it's a pain in the bum, and no one really wants to work there because it's slap bang in the city centre. If a plumber turns up and they can't find someone to park their car easily, chances are they're going to drive away, as I've had with one of mine. And one of mine turned around and said, "Oh yeah, Tristan, I keep getting parking tickets. Do you pay them?" I was like, "No, that's up to you. You could have found your own space." But with this building, the one thing is, I said about windows, you've got windows all along the front of it. We've got ability to put them all there. We've got windows all across the back of it as well. And so this building is actually 130 square metres a floor, which is the same size as on a single floor as a 5-bedroom house. So and that's a family house, not squeeze it all in, do a nice little HMO. But so what we're going to turn it into is squeezed in, 3 6-bedroom HMOs. And so the idea is each floor will be a 6-bedroom with an ensuite, and they're all going to be done out like a fairground theme with a little bit of an industrial design to it. So it should look really cool once it's done. The bit you can also see with this one is, I say, free space there. You'll notice that the roof height next door is higher than this. So again, if you want to put planning in, and the previous owner had put planning in, you can put another floor on top. And if you're looking to put floors on top of anything, it's not a slam dunk at all, but try and look for a really nice, flat, clean roof. And by clean roof, I mean it's not littered with chimney pots, it's not littered with air conditioning units, anything like that. The next bit that's always a challenge is neighbours. The more neighbours you've got, the more problems that you're going to have. Because whilst they're all nice and friendly when you come and chat to them initially, slowly they start realising you are a developer and you are next door to them. So they don't like it. So with this one, for example, we've got neighbours all the way around it. But so you're going to end up have quite a few people kind of concerned about what times you're working, when you're going to be in there, and then you have to be a bit more considerate about it. And then with this building, a couple of you heard me the other day talk about it. But you look at it, and it's a massive building, and you're thinking, well, it's got no windows, it's got massive blocks, so in the middle of it, if you had anything that's been really dark, so you're only going to be able to build around the outside of it, what can we do to it? And the answer is, you put a planning application in, if you know the owner, just so happens to be my dad, so I've lucked out on this one, but you can put a planning application in to put windows in all around the outside first. Council will go rubber stamp, it'll be really nice for the workers there to have more windows. Then you then put a permitted development application in afterwards, and like, oh right, yeah, we see what you're doing. But the other bit you can do in the middle is you can actually cut sections out in the middle to create almost like courtyard areas. So suddenly I've created a massive light well, so actually I can double the number of units on the site, because I can put window units, so houses all across one side of it, and then I can create bungalows all across the other side of it. And so just thinking about it more creatively. You always want to make sure you've got a good structure. And this is on 34 Yarmouth Road. Went inside it and the place looked stunning. You thought it looked like a new build inside. It's all decorated nicely, good carpets, air conditioning, lovely. When you look to the outside of it, there's a little bit of cracking on the outside, but I sat there and thought, you know, well, that wouldn't be that much of a problem with it, Tristan. We've never had that much of a problem before. But having now gone to a structural engineer like Luca, I've now found out the whole of this side wall has got to go. So it's not much of a conversion anymore, and so we slowly go around the building, and it's like, how much of a building are we going to have left? But the answer is, for permitted development, as long as you've got 2 main walls standing at the end of it, you're still technically converting a building. And this one's going to have a whole brand new light steel frame go up on the inside of it, and it's going to be a whole new building pretty much, but hey, the numbers you'll see just about work. So, and the final one is, as I said, free space, and I said free space in 2 ways. And this was absolutely fantastic with 34 Yarmouth. So we had a lovely planning officer come round, and my architect at the time, a chap called Ranjit from RS Studios, if anyone wants to use him, it's fantastic. he turned and said, well, when we draw our permitted development conversion, why don't we stick the loft space in? And so you need to have any space that's usable. It needs to be auxiliary storage space. So, i.e., I'm going to be able to put books up there. I'm going to be able to store stuff up there. But this is all on top of normal plasterboard ceiling tabs, and the whole thing would just fallen through. So he drew it in. Planning officer turns up, puts the ladder up. Oh yeah, that looks all right, and signed the whole thing off. So suddenly we've got the whole loft space. And then when we put the with the free space on that one, so we suddenly got the loft space, which works out about another 120 square meters. But the ceiling height below was about 3 and a bit meters, and upstairs was probably about 2.2. But you need to have a ceiling height that you can walk through of 2.2 meters to be valued for a mortgage. So what could I do? Drop the ceiling height downstairs, and then suddenly I've gone from 120 square meters to about 250. So suddenly you're adding a load more space that you can sell in the building that didn't exist before. And the last picture I showed here is King Street. We bought an old kebab shop on one side, and we bought an old restaurant on the other. They sat empty for probably about 2-3 years, and the chap who owned it passed away, and the two executors who had owned it now together had fallen out, or they didn't really get along that well, and so they were looking to sell it rather than rent it out again. So with the building, we completely stripped the whole thing out, but the one thing that we found as we were doing it, well, I looked up stock and it didn't have any fire breaks. So usually you have a firewall between properties to stop it spreading, or to stop people moving between one and the other. Anyway, some people know what happens, but so what we did is put that in. As we were up there, we put in our little laser. We're like, well, how deep is that there? I mean, as we measured it, it looked like we had an extra about 3 feet. And 3 feet into the back of each side is about an extra metre, right? We had an extra metre on 2 floors. The chimney stack had already been taken down below the chimney. So all we had to do was take the chimney out the inside of it. I suddenly get an extra metre on both floors, which roughly works out 12 square metres. But the one thing, and this is going to confuse you, but in Norwich I know a valuer who values on the pound per square foot. So we made sure that when we got a new mortgage, we used the only valuer in the area who values on a pound per square foot. Because suddenly we've just added an extra, I think about 8 square metres of land, and then at £3,000 a square metre, I've just added 24 grand by taking out a chimney stack for a week. No brainer to me.